Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and operator of CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the phone number in the description.
It's 2-5. We're about 1,300 effective, so me and the villain are a little bit over the cap. It's a 1K cap game. The villain covers me.
Yep.
We are at National Harbor as always.
Yep.
So I think actually pre-flop in this hand is maybe one of the more interesting streets because it's the one that I got the most divergent answers on.
Okay.
So a sort of tilting whaley guy who's on the end of like a 24-hour session, power 8Xs from under the guns opens to 40.
At 1,300 effective.
At 1,300 effective. And I don't have a great sample size, but my strong inclination is that this is one of these guys who just bigger open, better hands.
So UTG to 40, but most people just open to 20, though, right? This is out of
most
character.
People open to 20, and this guy has a limp range.
Okay.
So he's got a limp range, a normal open range, and a bomb open range.
And he's like an older guy or what?
He's like mid-50s black guy.
Okay.
But again, I hadn't played with him before, but he definitely is doing some whaley things.
Okay.
But in any event, I am UTG +1 with red sixes, and I elect to call. I definitely heard some people say that there should be a fold against this sizing with the field behind. Obviously, probably a computer does not call here, but then again, a computer doesn't open to 8X. So
yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I don't think the strength of your pair really makes that much of a difference. I think that in these spots, this is where you can print. If this guy's like a whaley guy, and this is sort of the way that you tag him, that he's going to have a strong hand here, there's probably not going to be that much of a squeeze frequency unless I mean, the times that I would deviate not calling is if you specifically had people behind you.
Right.
Who are very, very squeeze happy. But this is where sort of charts and all that stuff kind of, you miss out on some EV because I can't imagine folding here based upon this characterization. Is, deuce, deuce +1. Let's say you're putting 6-6 and deuce, deuce in the same category. I mean, 6-6 is obviously slightly better. Are you supposed to call a raise with deuce, deuce against UTG when you're UTG 1? No, probably not. But I mean, this is where you're 1,300 effective. I mean, you can make 30 times the raise. You could win a full stack in a single raise pot if you flop a set. I would not fold. I mean, yeah, there's probably a certain point. Well, people are like, well, how far do you take that? What if you raised, what if you were 2,500 deep and you raised to like 150 straight?
10Xs or 15
right,
or what have you. Yeah.
But
I also agree with your point that I think people are, even though this is contrary to the way the game theory would suggest you should operate, I think people are actually less likely to squeeze a very large open.
Right.
Because I think most people regard that as strong, and most people, particularly in Live 2-5, I think are like scared about putting in like large bets pre-flop with marginal hands. So.
Now, the only thing that I will say, though, is that, you say you read this as large, but sometimes with this large sizing, though, can be like a hand that isn't as good a matchup as you think, meaning like it's a hand like tens or
like
jacks.
Like the middling pair that doesn't.
Yeah, and then you got to have something really special to be able to stack, because then you'd have to hit a set, and there'd have to be like no overcard.
And they have to be no overs
And then as you shape the hand, sort of naturally the board can become scarier and scarier for the guy, right? The lower his pair is. So, there are certain times where I won't call this because I think it represents like nines or tens. And then there are certain guys that, okay, like, yeah, we'll play for stack here. So you make the call +1, okay.
I make the call +1.
Yeah.
You guys call behind. And so we get a pretty good flop for sixes.
So your heads up, right?
As they go. Oh, no. 2 guys behind.
Oh, 2 guys call behind in the field.
2 guys call behind in the field.
Okay.
So 160 in the middle. And we get 5, 6, 7 monotone for spades.
5, 6, 7 all spades. Okay, so you flop middle set here.
Middle set on an extremely wet board.
Right.
And now here's where the hand begins to get strange.
Yeah.
The whale bets 35 into 160.
Wow. Whale. So UTG bets 35.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, the only question I think we're approaching this reasonably is how large do I raise? Because I would never flat in this situation.
Yeah, unless you think that
With steel behind me.
something's really crazy going on, I would just sort of make it like 125 to 150. And then actually, what's funny is that people behind you sort of are gonna have almost gonna play their hands kind of face up in the sense that if you get a cold call behind, obviously you gotta
Right.
approach, with caution. But sure, I'd make
Well,
it
that's
like
the other. I mean,
125 to
right. In
150.
addition, right, because in addition to trying to get value from the whale, I don't want to give people an insane price to draw to the million hands that have a bunch of equity against me
Right.
behind in the field.
Yeah,
So
maybe 125 to 175, somewhere around there. I guess 125 might be a little bit on the small side. I forgot the pot's 160, but
I make it 135.
okay.
In part because I've been fooling around with his raise is too small, but I actually kind of like the idea of betting small on these kind of monotone flops
Yeah.
because it puts a lot of hands in like weird spots. But anyway, so I raise to 135.
Yep.
Field quickly folds behind us.
All right. So fold.
And fold.
Yep.
And now the whale relatively quickly bet 3-bets to 335. So pops another 200 in.
So UTG to 335. Okay.
Yeah.
So
after that, we'd have about a 950 back here.
So I mean, there's two hands that this is usually going to represent, right? The hand that we want it to represent is aces, with the ace of spades that the guy doesn't have, that thinks is the nuts. And then, does he play the nut flush draw this fast? It's a little bit concerning to me that the fact that he only bet 35, because even black
it suggests
aces,
he's not afraid.
Well, even black aces might bet more because there's straight draws and stuff out there. You know what I mean? I would.
But if he flopped the mortal nuts with ace.
Right, and then bet three. I mean, I don't think that I would just get it in. I would obviously call because your equity gets crippled on certain cards, and then your equity goes up to 100 on certain cards, right?
Exactly, and this is actually another street where people gave me different views. A lot of people I talked about this hand with said that we should just shift the flop because it's indistinguishable from calling. But I actually think that you're right, that it's because the board is so dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too.
Basically, any turn card changes things substantially.
Yeah, I mean, could he ever have sevens here? I mean, if he's going to have sevens, you're just going to get coolered, right? I mean, it is what it is. And again, sevens actually doesn't. Actually, he's not going to have sevens. No one's going to bet because sevens on this board isn't the nuts. Even a whale can see that. They're going to bet pot or something, right? So you can throw that out the window.
Yeah.
So I would call.
Both pre-flop and the flop discount in my mind second.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's where the hand takes another string.
So you call, right?
I call.
So the pot's now what? 7? What, like almost not 9:30, something like that?
Yeah, almost 9:30. Now, as soon as I call, as the dealer is burning and turning, the whale announces that he's all there.
Okay.
And
what's
he's
the
all
turn?
in for 950. The turn is an offsuit ace.
Offsuit ace.
Yes.
Ooh.
So that was not my ideal turn card. It's obviously not the worst turn card, but it's not good.
Oh man!
And
offsuit.
if the whale didn't see it.
Because what I was going to say is, like, if you pulled that dynamic and the turn was any non-spade, then I would just call. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just be like rip, GG.
Yeah. So here
you don't have spades.
Right. So he already went all in before he saw the turn.
Yes, he went all in before he saw the turn.
So you're drawing dead against pocket aces. Well, you've got one out.
Well, I got the one out.
Right, you have one out against pocket aces.
I'm drawing dead against pocket aces against a flop flush.
But you're only getting 2 to 1, right? You're only getting 2 to 1, right?
I'm only getting 2 to 1, so he has to have something else at some frequency other than obviously
other than a flush or other than pocket aces with the ace of spades, right? So
exactly.
What does he have that's not pocket aces with the ace of spades or a flop flush here that does this? Like what hands do you think?
He could have, I suppose, if he's insane, he could have a black overpair. Because he didn't see the ace, so he could have a black overpair from
like kings or queens or something. Oh man,
black kings or black queens. Now he would have to be pretty bad to do that. But at the same time, I'm having a little bit of trouble wrapping my mind around folding to a guy who blind jams the turn when I have a set.
I don't know, man. I think I might. Well, Dave from Dave Dave from New Jersey says what? Yeah, Dave from New Jersey says, what about just ace of spades like king? Like, what about just the ace of spades like ace king or ace queen?
Ace king with the ace of spades, or yeah.
I don't see. I don't know. I got to tell you, at
but it seems unlikely.
At 2-1, I think I'm gonna fold. I mean, I know it's tough to fold sets against bad players, but that's such a bad turn card for you. I can't come up with. And again, you just want to look at the pot odds of like, are there like a break even call is if he only has 2 times more value than he has hands that you beat. So,
Right.
if there are 9 hands that he has here. If he's got 6 value and then there are 3 that you beat, you can call. I don't see that though. I think that he's got you beat way more than 2-1 times. You know what I mean?
And it's funny because
it's actually not that simple because of course you have equity against sets, against flushes,
everything except the aces
right,
and the sevens.
right.
I have a decent amount of equity.
Right.
It's funny because the live dynamic is such that if he had jammed after he saw after the turn card came out, I actually think it's easier for me to fold because I think that like obviously he's going to jam top set.
Right.
He's very likely to jam top set. Whereas potentially the fact that he doesn't see the card creates the possibility that he has these overpairs and he's just terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think on reflection, and it's funny actually when we texted this, I think that you initially thought it was a call, and I think that's what most people said.
But I think that I missed.
Think about the combination.
I think I might have missed some of this though when you texted me. Like I don't remember it being multi-way on the flop. So yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Maybe upon deeper examination, it's now that I look. Now I don't know. It's probably pretty close. Did you find a call?
So I did call because I'm just like, look, I mean, maybe this is also because I've just been getting steamrolled in live poker. So I'm like, well, I called this hand pre-flop to try to flop a set and stack this guy, and this is really weird.
Yeah.
But I would like to try to stack you.
Yeah.
So I throw in the call. The turn is an offsuit king.
The river's an offsuit king. Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. And he flips over ace king of spades.
He flips over ace king of spades. He had the absolute nuts. Absolute nuts.
For the flopped mortal nuts that he just blasted away with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things, just as a betting pattern in my experience with these guys, is that when you see a guy show aggression over the top of aggression when they started off with a very small bet, that's like almost the same strength as like somebody back raising. You know what a back raise is, right? A back raise is
like the rope-a-dope or something.
Yeah, the back raise is like when someone calls a bet, then someone raises, and then they come back over the top and re-raise. Yeah, I mean, we actually saw that. Bill Perkins did that with 3-4 on Friday when I was commentating against Garrett. Garrett took a weird line with jacks on the board came out 6-5 deuce. Bill Perkins had called with 3-4 of diamonds in the big blind, and Garrett was under the gun with jacks, and somebody in the field had called. I think it was Alex Fox, and Garrett checked the flop. Fox and bet. Bill Perkins called with the nuts. Garrett check raised jacks. Fox folded, and then Bill Perkins basically just back raised him. And Garrett folded. But this is sort of the same type of thing when you see small bet on a dynamic board, and now aggression to somebody else's aggression. It takes a special type of player to just do that with the ace of spades. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.